Alright guys, so this video, I have this late 1940s DeWalt radial arm saw in pieces, as you can see. I just picked it up. It's a 16-inch. That's the massive 16-inch blade right there, which is accompanied by all of its older blades, which are basically junk at this point. Here is the starter switch that's been ripped off the front there. So anyway, what I'm working on right now is I just got it into the shop, and I'm gonna fix it up so I can use it. Everything works on it. It's just a little frozen. Speaking of which, these are the roller bearings that the whole motor assembly slides on. So radial arm saw, you got the motor, you got a handle, you got the blade, you pull it out to cut the piece of wood, right? Well, it rolls along the track on the inside here, right along this edge, and it uses these 8 bearings. I have some of them already out, but there's 4 in the front, 4 in the back, and they roll right along it. And as it stands right now, these are in rough shape as far as how well they spin. This one actually spins pretty well. Let's take a look at the other one. That one actually spins really, really well. This one down here, these two, they spin pretty well also. However, the angled ones are the only ones that really spin. This one actually is pretty rough. This one here, you can see it going back and forth, but not really spinning. The same with these two right here. They weren't really spinning at all. And I just took off this guy right here. This one doesn't really spin either. So I'm going to show you how I get them to go from not spinning to, let's see if I can do this with one hand. Look at that. Spins pretty darn easily. I get it to spin like that, and hopefully I'll get the other ones to spin like that in about a matter of seconds. And I'm going to show you how. All right, first things first, I got it nice and tight in my clamp. Now that it's tight in the vise, I can put a little more pressure on here. You can see I can actually spin this now, but by no means can I spin this with one finger, all right? So I have to use 2 fingers to really get it to turn, and it still turns hard. Little side note here, I use 2 blocks of wood to clamp this part of the shaft into the vise so that it protects this part. This part is, very well machined. It fits into a hole that's pretty much the exact same size. So if you clamp this part of the shaft into the vise and you put a lot of pressure on it, the vise has ridges, it's got teeth on here, it'll bite into here, it'll dent it, and your bearing will not slide in as smoothly as it should. So the wood just helps protect your shaft and keeps it from getting all dented up. All right, so no real secret here as to what I'm going to do, but you guys are probably familiar with the old PV Blaster. Says right on the can, powerful rust penetrating catalyst, and that's what's going on with this. We get probably some rust in there and some gunky grease, so I'm going to go ahead and spray this right on here. Try not to go too crazy. I'm going to let it soak in, and as it's soaking in, I'm going to start to spin this. And what was that? Like 3 or 4 seconds? Look at this. It's already spinning with one finger. Not spinning as cleanly as the other one just yet, but I'm going to keep working it. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to flip it over in a minute, but I'm going to let it soak in on this side. But already, look at this. What was that? About 20, 30 seconds. And it gets to the point where it's spinning by itself. All right, so the next step, what I'm going to do now is to clean it up a little bit using my little wire brush. Definitely now that it's spinning like it's brand new, I'm going to have to hold on to it with my hand. But I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of scrubbing with my wire brush, and then I'm going to use a rag to clean it off. Okay, so some scrubbing and the rag. And look at that. That looks pretty good. Spinning almost like it's brand new. So now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. All right, so there you have it. I just cleaned up the backside. I mean, I can't believe how well it cleaned up. I mean, really, what was on there was a combination of sawdust and some grease and a little bit of rust, but that PB Blaster works really well. And here's proof. I mean, it basically spins by itself with a little bit of pressure from one finger, going from, you know, practically seized up, like almost couldn't spin this with just two hands. I needed to be able to hold on to it with a vise. That's how seized up it was. So I just saved myself, for now anyway, I just saved myself about $25 to $30 per bearing, and there's 8 of them. So I'm gonna clean up the rest of them, and it should be working pretty much like new again. So again, if you're not familiar with PB Blaster, you can get it at any hardware store. I mean, since 1957, it says on the can. Like, this is like, my dad has swears by it, and you know, it's got all this stuff on there about how great it is, because it is that great. So if you don't have it in your shop, you should definitely get some. But that's how you take the old, beat up bearing. And now it might not work for all, but like in this case, I was really surprised how well it worked, and saved me a whole bunch of money. So there you go. Hope you learned something.